Hello and welcome to another round of Championship predictions from the Honest Football Podcast. I'm Craig Savage. With me, as always, is Mr. Daniel Cody. Let's have a quick recap of matchday 23. And there were games called off because of the pandemic, of the virus. However, we were given a few games and there were some perfect scores overall. I had two perfect scores just for me, none for Daniel Cody. My two perfect scores were Middlesbrough versus Bournemouth and Forest versus Hull, but they probably should have been the third if I actually stuck to my guns and said that Blackburn will win 4-0. However, I predicted 2-2. But who cares at the end of the day? It's all a bit of fun. So overall, I get 7 points. Daniel Cody is 2. I win match day 23. However, there are games in hand, and we know that. And there's already been 3 games called off on match day 24, the Boxing Day edition of the Championship predictions. Barnsley v Stoke, Cardiff versus Coventry, and Peterborough versus Reading at the time of recording on a Wednesday afternoon. They're the only games that are called off. However, we will still be doing predictions. They still be on here. If games get called off, we will not get editing them out again. And we're just going to stick with it if you don't, and we'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's start with the first game. It is Fulham, top of the table. They're at home to Birmingham City. Fulham still haven't won a game in a while, 4 straight draws, and now a defeat to Sheffield United. Birmingham were hopeless against Blackburn.
Yeah, it makes it quite difficult to predict this, doesn't it? Because that top of the Championship is tightening up. And as well as the concerning performances from Fulham, I mean, to be fair, we mentioned 4 draws in a row. You mentioned they weren't great against Luton. We were both there. We saw that firsthand. And against Sheffield United, it was a poor game, let's be honest, wasn't it? There weren't a lot of chances. Not a lot of clear-cut chances. And Fulham didn't look like the rampant top of the table side that had scored 51 goals this season already. So combine that with the fact that Birmingham were just poor against Blackburn. They're letting some really bad goals. They have been conceding recently. That's 9 in the last 3 games now, after back-to-back clean sheets. How the hell do you predict the Championship? Surely Fulham have to bounce back in this one. I was thinking about doing something ridiculous, but I just think Fulham are going to bounce back. This is the game they find form again. Their first win in 6. It will be 3-0 to Fulham.
Yeah, I have to think Fulham will bounce back at some point. They got stifled out by Sheffield United on Monday night. Only 1 shot on target, I think, for Fulham, which is very rare for them. And these sort of performances have been coming. And luckily, I'll say luckily, in a way, but Bournemouth have been struggling themselves. And West Brom have been struggling themselves. But the teams like Blackburn, Coventry, who are also in the playoff mix, they're creeping up. So the gap they had is starting to go. And Fulham have really got to start looking behind their shoulders at these sort of performances and the teams around them. But I do think they'll bounce back. I'm going to go 2-0 to Fulham. All right, next up, it's Huddersfield Town. They're at home to Blackpool. Both these teams won last weekend. Huddersfield with that 3-2 away win at Bristol City. Blackpool's first win in a long time. They beat Peterborough 3-1.
Huddersfield Bristol City was a really decent game. I've got to be honest. It's the only one I've watched the extended highlights of rather than the standard ones. And it was just really entertaining. There were chances at both ends. Obviously, Bristol City scored very early and very late, but Huddersfield, 3 goals, haven't done that for a long time. Maybe a few concerns at the back, but score more than 1 in a game signalled a return to form. And they had largely been pretty poor away from home this season. So that'll be a big confidence boost for them. Blackpool needed that. Blackpool really needed it, didn't they? And you've got to be fair to them. I know Peterborough had their moments, but it was a very good performance and a very good late show again from Blackpool, playing to the final whistle. They're just starting to look like they're going to be okay again. They're 11 points clear of Peterborough, which shows how important beating them was. But I genuinely haven't got a clue what to predict for this one. So that means I have to sit on the fence, and you know what score's coming. It's the Championship's favourite scoreline.
I think this is going to be the hardest week since the opening day of picking predictions for this week, because obviously the games, most of the teams didn't play last week.
And what players are available?
And what play? Who's available? I don't know. We really got 3 off. Obviously, these 2 teams played last week. Blackpool desperately needed that. They desperately needed that. And I think that was a perfect game for them to have and a team that's near the bottom of the Championship. A team that obviously both got promoted last season. They needed that sort of game. Huddersfield, they 1-0 down. They went 3-1 up. So that was a very good comeback from them. Obviously, they scored Bristol City, scored later on, but score 3 away goals normally away from home, bound to win, really. So that's a very good positive result for them. They are better, obviously, do well at home as well. They were unlucky last time they were at home. Obviously, they couldn't hold on against Coventry. Oh, you picked 1-1. I'm going to go 2-2. I think this could be a really entertaining game. I think what we've got to predict, this probably would be one of the entertaining games. So I'm going to go Desmond 2-2. Right, up next, it is Hull City versus Blackburn. Hull lost 2-1 to the Nottingham Forest. They did take the lead, but they couldn't hang on. And Blackburn made me look silly.
They did a little bit, yeah. But it's got to be said, take that aside, they are starting to look like one hell of a team now. Lots of pace and quality in the attacking line. They're ruthless on the counter. They create so many chances from wide areas. And then when you've got a player in the form of Ben Diaz up front, you're going to have a very good season if they can keep hold of him, which is going to be crucial. But they're in a position now where they could go into the January window in the top 2. And that's a very good carrot to say, can you stick with us and give us till the end of the year? Hull just starting to go backwards again. Obviously, we were in a car on the way back from our abandoned Hitchin Town game when they took the lead late in the first half against Forest, but they got pegged back and it's 3 games without a win now. And they've started conceding goals again after all those clean sheets. They're sliding towards the relegation zone, only 4 points clear, and they're playing the form team in a division. Everything would tell you Blackburn are going to win this comfortably, but I've got the same feeling you had about the Birmingham game, which is this going to end up being the one? It's on TV now as it stands after the first one's been moved. And I'm going to go through no logic whatsoever. It's my hunch of the weekend. I'm going to go for, I'm between 2-2 and 3-2 Hull. And I know that's ridiculous. I know it's ridiculous. I'm going 2-2.
I'm going to go for a Blackburn win. I'm going to go 2-1 to Blackburn. No, I think I can see where you're coming from because Blackburn on good form, but they come up with a really odd result. And that's what I was relying on last week, which didn't happen. It could happen this week. I could see that happening, but I think Blackburn will probably hold on. I'm going to go for 2-1 to the Rovers. Right, next up at Kenilworth Road, it's Luton Town versus Bristol City. Luton didn't play. They were supposed to play Reading. Bristol City lost at home. They did take lead and they just collapsed.
They did indeed, yeah. It was a very strange performance. It was a really entertaining game. I've said it before on the Huddersfield bit, but ultimately they've come out on the wrong side. And the home form, we just started to get excited about their home form. A lot of 1-0 wins, a little unbeaten run, and there it is again. So 3 goals conceded, and now we have to focus on them away from home again, where they've won more games this season out of the 2. Luton, obviously, a 2-week break. Probably not the ideal time. It's one of the first times this season we've had nearly our whole squad fit and we weren't able to play. So it's a little bit frustrating in that regard. But a brilliant game against Fulham. The coaching on the training ground generally with a lot of new players this year has been good. I think it will actually help a few bed in. But I think it's going to make a team selection dilemma or two, obviously COVID permitting. It's a game I'm obviously hoping's on because Boxing Day football is a treat and I can't wait to go to it. But ultimately, I think Bristol City might spring a surprise in this one. So as a result, I'm going to go for Bristol City to nick it by 2-1. I think playing last week, despite the result, might ultimately help them.
No. Luton, it's a problem. I think Luton will win this game 2-0. I think Luton are stronger. It's at home. Luton got a pretty good record against Bristol City at home recently. I know Bristol City's away from better than home, but Luton at Kenny, just under 10,000 at the Kenny. And it'll be a raucous atmosphere. I think Luton will be, a bit stronger. Adebayo after watching the first game between these two sides, Luton were better. They should have got more than a point. But I think Luton will win this game 2-0. Right, next up is Middlesbrough versus Forest. Middlesbrough beat Bournemouth 1-0. Nottingham Forest beat Hull 2-1.
Yeah, Middlesbrough, really good performance, albeit Bournemouth are really starting to struggle now. Probably the 2 teams this season that have benefited most recently from the manager bounce. I think that's fair to say. Forest now right in the cusp of the playoffs. We said it last week. Who on earth would have predicted that? 7th place, 1 point off 5th, 3 victories in a row. And I think the thing that was impressive about the whole game is obviously going behind just before the break. It could have been enough for a side that has struggled for a year and a half, enough to turn their heads. But it was a great comeback and they got the victory, which is all that matters. Middlesbrough are fantastic. Forest are in great form. I don't even know what to go for. Middlesbrough have won half their home games. Forest have won nearly half their away games. So I'm going to sit on the fence again, I'm afraid. But I think it might be a bit cagey. Both trying to cancel each other's out. I'm going for 0-0.
Oh, okay. I've gone complete opposite.
I'm surprising you here, aren't I?
I've gone complete opposite. I agree. I think it'll be a draw. I really do. I think there's going to be goals. I'm going 3-3.
Wow. There's always one on Boxing Day. There's always
exactly.
one.
You know, everyone tweets about the Boxing Day in 19 something when it was goals and goals. This is going to be the game of goals and goals. No, obviously Middlesbrough were fantastic last week. I thought Bournemouth were rubbish. I'll be honest. Isaiah Jones completely destroyed the fullback and took it's a soft penalty they got, but he was playing for it and he got his reward for playing for it. And
clumsy defending, wasn't it?
Yeah, as it made it clumsy, but he was playing for it. And it's not. I got no problem with that. So yeah, obviously they took advantage of it. Obviously, Forest coming back from 2-1 down. Fair play to them. Hull obviously were in good form at the time, so it was another good win. Steve Cooper's doing very well. Gets them up the table. They could be a late charge for the playoffs. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, 3-3. I just want to entertain the Boxing Day game. Right, next up, Millwall versus Swansea. Both these teams didn't play. So where do you want to go from there?
No research, go on a hunch. I think that's the best way to do it.
I think, yeah, this might be the shortest prediction we have to do this season.
There's nothing to base it on. Swansea have been pretty poor away from home this season. They score a few goals. Of that team in a sort of bottom half for away form, they are the top scorers behind Bristol City, but they've conceded 19 goals on the road. At home, Millwall, very much a different story. Score just over one a game, concede one a game. It's got one all written all over it, but I don't know how the styles are going to match up because Millwall play quite direct. If they press Swansea high when they try and play out from the back, I think they'll catch them off guard. And I'm banking on Gary Rowett to do that. So 2-1 to Millwall because Swansea, let's be honest, the 3 games we've got to judge them on, the last 3 defeats, they've been woeful defensively.
Yeah, I think we gave Russell Martin a lot of praise for his attacking style of football, but we seem to forget they do concede a lot of goals. And it's not where... I'll be honest, Luton, I know this is back in September, but Luton tore them apart in half an hour. And like Swansea create their own downfall conceding goals. So you have to look at a fine balance. And this is another game where I think Swansea will try and overplay it in the back, and Millwall will be a bit, I think Millwall might bully them. I really do. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 win for Millwall because they don't tend to be many goals at the New Den. But I think I think a home win will probably be about right. So 1-0 to Millwall. Next up at Deepdale is Preston North End versus Sheffield United. Preston didn't play. Sheffield United beat Fulham 1-0 at Craven Cottage, and it was a very honest, real hard battling performance from them.
It was indeed. I've got to be fair. It was the perfect away performance. They restricted a very attacking Fulham side to next to nothing in terms of clear chances. And I know it's very early doors, but we're at risk for the first time, I think, in a Championship Manager special this year of really having to eat our words because Paul Heckingbottom has started like a house on fire. Whether that will continue, whether the recruitment will be right in January, there's a lot of different things. But so far, the signs are very good. And they're another side just sliding up into that playoff mix now, only 3 points away. Preston, again, a side that will probably benefit because they've had 2 weeks working with a new manager on the training ground. Probably couldn't have asked for a better time to have a postponement. We've mentioned their squad's a little bit light in certain areas. They'll have January round the corner now and 1 extra fixture to play after players have come in. Ultimately, I don't think Preston will be strong enough. I think they will still be limited by the squad they have, and we'll yet to see what happens with Ryan Lowe in charge. But I'm going 5 in a row, Sheffield United, and I'm going to go by 2-0 because bar that Cardiff game, they haven't conceded many or any at all apart from that game under Heckingbottom.
Oh, this is a game I'm actually not sure to predict on it, more so than Millwall Swansea. Both of them didn't play. No, Sheffield United were good. I have to give them a lot of credit for that because it was a great goal. He took that really well, actually. Really, really well. Very cool casual finish. Preston, I have to agree. Yeah, Preston obviously need that. Obviously, new manager. He probably want that, depending on how many of their players had COVID in their ranks. Obviously, we don't know. I think it will go for Sheffield United win. It leans to that. But I don't think it will. I'm going to go Championship's favourite scoreline in 1-1. Right, 2 games to go, and they're on the 27th. Let's start off with Derby County. They're at home to West Bromwich Albion. Derby didn't play. West Brom drew 0-0 with Barnsley. God, that game was terrible.
Yeah, absolutely right. It was an atrocious game. I mean, you were almost sent to sleep by it, whereas...
I did. The fog made it a little bit better.
It was genuinely one of the worst games of the season in the Championship. And again, on the side note, why do West Brom keep getting picked for TV? They've scored just over 1 a game and conceded less than 1 a game. They're not an entertaining pick, but yeah, that's another point for another day. Derby obviously didn't play last week, but they are off the back of a good victory. And they're another side potentially, depending on what happens with takeover news and that could benefit from having games off. But as it stands at the moment, a fixture pile-up is the last thing they'll need. I don't really know what to go for here because Derby are pretty solid at home this year. They've only lost 2 games. There's very rarely goals in those games. And West Brom on the road, 1-4 drawn, 4 lost 4, and not many goals in those either. So the only thing you can certainly bank on is this being a low-scoring game. And I'm going to play safe and assume the moment of magic will be there. I'm going to go for 1-0 West Brom, but it's 0-0 or 1-0 either way, isn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree. But I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to go 1-0 Derby. Something about West Brom. And I don't know whether it was Ishmael's type of players from last season that seem to work better. They seem to work well. I think they seem to work better in his system than they are with West Brom players. I don't know. I could be wrong. It's something's just not right. But they were more entertaining last season on the Barnsley than he is more entertaining with West Brom. And West Brom are better players than Barnsley.
It's Daryl DK. It's Daryl DK.
It's not all about Daryl DK. And obviously Daryl DK done well. But if Ishmael wanted Daryl DK, he was taking the West Brom. Despite the strikers, like the striking options they have, why didn't they take the punt? West Brom take the punt of him. Didn't work under him. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know what it is with West Brom. They have been fairly boring. But they're going to lose this game. Derby going to win 1-0. And the final game, I think it is on Sky actually. It is QPR versus Bournemouth at the Kieran Prince Foundation Stadium. QPR haven't played for a while now because they had an outbreak at the club. Bournemouth lost to Borough. They were rubbish. Would you say they've been found out?
I don't know. What's weird to me is under completely different management with a number of different players, the exact same thing is happening to last year. And that has to be an issue within the club. Let's be fair, the January window is coming at the perfect time for them because they're going to need to, add some goals into the team almost. 1 goal in the last 3 games, which was the kickoff one against Fulham. There are a few signs of concern. I would agree with you there. If there's ever a time to bounce back, it's QPR. They haven't played for 3 weeks. How can we judge what they're going to be like? They are one of the best home teams in the league. Bournemouth, though, despite the Middlesbrough game, despite the Fulham and Millwall games before, are still the best away team in the league on paper, and they've still only let in 7 goals. So I haven't got a clue what to go for. The later kickoff will benefit them. QPR will be rusty because it'll basically be like coming back for pre-season for them. I'm going to go for 2-0 to Bournemouth. Back-to-back 2-0 home defeats for QPR.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bournemouth. I was going to go 2-2, but I'm just because QPR haven't played. Bournemouth do normally bounce back well after defeat. Yeah, it's very hard to call because of all the attacking powers Bournemouth have, I was really disappointed in them. And they had some good chances against Borough. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't enough. Slanky had a good chance, but yeah, and I say it was clumsy defending. I think if you let Jay Nancy defend a little bit, which is that's quite hard because he's very good attacking. Defending, I'm not sure. Don't want him running the other way, but I think they'll bounce back. Bournemouth. I'm going to go 2-1 to them. Let's have a quick recap what we've predicted for Matchday 24 Boxing Day edition. I somehow went 3-3 for Middlesbrough versus Nottingham Forest, and for Daniel Cody, 2-1s, 1-0s, 2-0s. But his standout one is Fulham 3, Birmingham 0. And those are our predictions for this Boxing Day edition of the Championship predictions. Do you agree with us or disagree with us? Let us know in the comment section down. Give us your predictions for the action. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Honest Football Podcast, and you can follow us on Twitter at HonestFootball3. For myself and Daniel, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and see you next time.